1799 World Events. America. In 1799, key events in American history included the death of George Washington, the Quasi-War with France, and the passage of the Logan Act, which barred U.S. citizens from conducting private diplomacy without the authorization of the United States. The beginning of Fries's rebellion against a direct federal tax on property, including land, houses, and slaves, and the founding of the Russian-American Company. Canada. In 1799 in Canada, the Northwest Company established a fur post at Rocky Mountain House. Alexander Mackenzie resigned from the Northwest Company, and the Russian-American Fur Company was chartered, launching an aggressive policy in the Aleutians and on the Northwest coast. Brazil. In 1799, a key event in Brazilian history was the public hanging of 4 leaders of the Bahia Rebellion on November 8th, following a failed independence movement that had begun in 1798. The Prince Regent of Portugal, John of Braganza, formally governed the country on behalf of his mother, Queen Maria I of Portugal, since 1799. Mexico. In 1799, Mexico, then part of New Spain, saw the conspiracy of the Machetes in Mexico City, where 13 young men, led by Pedro de la Portilla, were arrested for plotting a rebellion against Spanish rule, a precursor to the later Mexican War of Independence. Colombia. In 1799, a significant event for Simón Bolívar, a future leader of the South American independence movement, was his departure from the port of La Guaira in Venezuela, bound for Cadiz, Spain, on the Spanish warship San Ildefonso on January 19th. Cuba. In 1799, Salvador de Muro y Salazar became the governor of Cuba, a position he held until 1812. France. In 1799, France saw the end of the French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte with the coup of 18 Brumaire, which established the consulate and marked the beginning of the Napoleonic era. Britain. In 1799 in Britain, key events included the introduction of an income tax, British aid to the Ottoman Empire against the French at the Siege of Acre, the Battle of Seringapatam, the formation of an alliance against France, and the passage of laws outlawing trade unions and radical societies. India. In 1799 in India, the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War concluded with the British storming Tipu Sultan's capital, Seringapatam, leading to his death and the kingdom becoming a British protectorate. China. After the death of the Qianlong Emperor in the beginning of February 1799, the Jiaqing Emperor took control of the government and prosecuted Heshen, a favorite official of his father. Japan. In 1799, Japan was in the Edo period, with the Tokugawa shogunate firmly in power, and the country was largely isolated from the rest of the world, with limited contact through the artificial island of Dejima in Nagasaki Harbor. Russia. In 1799, Russia, under Emperor Paul I, joined the Second Coalition against revolutionary France, participated in the Italian and Swiss campaigns, and saw the founding of the Russian-American Company, which established settlements and trading posts in Alaska. Norway. In 1799, Thomas Malthus visited Norway to study population growth, finding a late marital age and a large servant class, which he incorrectly attributed to military service. Also, mintage was established in Christiania, now Oslo, using silver from Kongsberg, and the first Norwegian banknotes were introduced, though the currency sharply depreciated. Sweden. In 1799, Oscar I, future King of Sweden and Norway, was born. He was the son of John Baptist Bernadotte, who later became King Charles XIV John of Sweden. Denmark. In 1799, Denmark was embroiled in the Napoleonic Wars, aligning with France against Great Britain, and experienced a period of political and economic instability, including the death of King Christian VI's son, Prince Frederick. Italy. King Ferdinand took refuge in Sicily under the protection of the British fleet, and French troops occupied Naples on January 23, 1799, and established the Parthenopean Republic. Spain. In 1799, Spain was ruled by King Charles IV, and the nation was experiencing the aftermath of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, with Spain eventually siding with France against Britain. Portugal. In 1799, Portugal, under the reign of Queen Maria I, though her son, John, was the regent, continued to grapple with the aftermath of the French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon, facing both internal challenges and external pressures. Egypt. In 1799, key events in Egypt during Napoleon's campaign included the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, Napoleon's victory at the Battle of Abukir, and his departure from Egypt in August. On July 19, 1799, a French soldier discovered a black basalt slab inscribed with ancient writing near the Egyptian town of Rosetta, El Rashid, which would later become the Rosetta Stone. South Africa. Third Cape Frontier War, 1799 to 1801. This conflict, part of the Cape Frontier Wars, saw clashes between the Xhosa people and the Dutch settlers in the Zerveld region. Khoisan Rebellion. Khoisan servants, who deserted their white masters, joined the Xhosa in the conflict, taking guns and horses, making the war particularly serious for the colonists. Grafrianet Rebellion. Farmers in Grafrianet revolted against the British. British naval engagement. In early 1799, a British frigate, HMS Daedalus, captured the French ship Prudent, which was attacking British trade passing to or from the Cape Colony. HMS Scepter wrecked. On November 5th, HMS Scepter was wrecked in a storm in Table Bay, South Africa, with the loss of 349 lives and 41 survivors. London Missionary Society. The London Missionary Society sent missionaries to South Africa. Fort Frederick. The British built Fort Frederick in Algoa Bay. Sir George Young. On December 18th, Sir George Young was appointed governor of the Cape. West Africa. Sierra Leone colony established. In 1799, the British formally established Sierra Leone as a separate British colony, after acquiring the coastal territory in 1787 with the intention of resettling freed slaves from the American Revolutionary War. Turkey. In 1799, significant events unfolded in the Ottoman Empire, including Napoleon's unsuccessful Siege of Acre, the French occupation of Egypt and Syria, and the Ottomans' declaration of war against France with British support. Australia. On January 7th, George Bass and Matthew Flinders completed their circumnavigation of Tasmania, then known as Van Diemen's Land, in the sloop Norfolk, proving it was an island. In July, Matthew Flinders left Port Jackson to explore the east coast in the sloop Norfolk, surveying Moreton Bay between the 15th and 31st, and charting Hervey Bay on August 2nd. The prison, in Sydney was burned by arsonists on February 11th. In October, 5 settlers were found guilty of killing Aboriginal people in the Hawkesbury region, but they were later pardoned. The Black Wars began in the Hawkesbury and Parramatta regions, marking the start of a 6-year period of resistance to white settlement by Aboriginal people. Thank you for watching the video.